Hello and welcome to the Huddersfield Town preview show in association with Sports Broker. I'm pleased today to be joined by Danel Sinani and Stephen Chicken of the Examiner. Danel, if we start with you, you've been on a long international break. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's really good to be to play for the country, but I'm also happy and glad to be here at Huddersfield.
We were speaking off air before about the amount of miles you've put in because you're playing against Azerbaijan in Baku and then back to Luxembourg for a game against Ireland. Is that sort of a nice thing that you get to see some more of the world, but also challenging as an athlete because you have so little time to recover between games?
Of course, I think it's every game you play with the national team. It's always something new, a new experience.
Yeah.
And also you travel a lot, and so you have the possibility to see other countries, other cities. So it's very exciting. But the less fun thing is that you have to travel a lot, especially now in Azerbaijan. We traveled 5 hours, so it's not easy, especially when you fly back after the game. So the recovery time is not enough, and especially if you have to play in 2-3 days against Ireland. So it's really tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't sound much fun, Stephen. I mean, we put in enough miles just following Town's own championship team. So imagine doing a Luxembourg or any international sort of schedule on top of that. I think myself and Sam, who records this, you can't see him. He's behind the curtain, as it were. But he was saying we look forward to international breaks a little bit because that gives us a little bit of a chance to rest and do other things in and around the club. But players like Danel are off doing, traveling to Azerbaijan for 5 hours.
Yeah, and I think Carlos is always sort of quite keen to make the point that even the players that aren't on international duty, it's not like they're sitting on their sofas for 2 weeks resting up. They're on the training pitch, and it's an opportunity to do sort of more of the hard graft sort of tactically and get out of the video room and onto the pitch, which you can't do, particularly sort of the recent schedule that Town have had in the Championship with the 3-game weeks and so on. So I think that Carlos is always sort of quite keen to avoid calling it a break for that reason, and I think there's something in that.
Yeah, Danel, it's something that we've spoken to a couple of the players about before, but training under Carlos is quite intense and it's very physically demanding because of the work that you put in on a weekend. He wants to see a similar amount of effort during the week. Is that something that's taken you a little bit of time to get used to? Is that something you're enjoying here at Town?
At the beginning when I first came here in Huddersfield, I took a little bit of time to adapt myself of the style of play because as you said also that the session with Carlos is really intense, but if you see also the games we are playing, so the games are really demanding, and so also the sessions. So if you are doing well in the session, so and in the games, it will be more easier for you, and that's what is Carlos trying to do with us. So to work more in the training session, and then to be more prepared for the games.
Do you feel fitter and stronger since joining the club?
Yeah, of course. Especially with intensity, a lot of intensity, because we are not now a team who have 90% of the ball. So we also play counter-attack, and so we are a mixed team. So we defend and we attack as well. So you need to be strong in defense and also attack well. So it's very important, intensity. And for me, I improved myself, but it's still a lot of improvement to do.
Yeah. Do you think that's sort of a credit to not only the coaching staff, but the performance team and everything here at Town, the fact that players like Danel can play at such a high intensity internationally in the championship during training and still have that level of fitness and still be fresh enough for matches in between what is a relentless calendar for them.
Yeah, I think especially when sort of it's been the same 11 an awful lot recently, you really need to trust that the players that you're picking are able to stand up to it. And obviously Carlos does feel that way. So I think he obviously has a lot of trust in the players that he is selecting. I think that the physical side of things will have a large part to play in that. Yeah,
it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because I think some clubs will want to change their teams more often. Some will want to, after an international break, they'll not pick players who've been on international duty and what have you. But there seems to be a little bit more trust in our own physical performance team to ensure that the lads are in the best possible state to get on the pitch, regardless of what the schedule's been like before.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult balance. I mean, we saw at the Stoke game that Danel and Levi were sort of left out, rotated out the side, having been on international duty. But then after the last break, Carlos said it was a different sort of situation and that the players that had been away were able to play again. I think it is. I think obviously the fact that Town have had injuries probably plays a part. I think especially Pippa, his absence sort of limits what you're able to do tactically, and has maybe meant that the three at the back, the 3-4-3, has stuck around longer and more consistently than maybe Carlos had in mind at the start of the season. And obviously, likes of Jordan Rhodes being out as well. There are, it does sort of bring the squad size down a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it's. As I say, it's a difficult balance. You've always got to sort of weigh it up against the risk of injuries, and you've always got to try and pick the team that you think can perform the best, and that's what Carlos seems to be doing with the 11 that we've seen a lot recently.
Yeah, how do you feel, Danel, about that after you've come back from an international break where you've gone to Baku and you've played in Luxembourg and you're back here with the team? Do you feel that the support and everything you're getting from our first team staff and the coaches puts you in a position that if you were selected to play on Saturday, you'd be in the best position to put in a good performance?
Yeah, of course. I think after the international break, so after the travel, after the games, the club are doing everything in what is possible to get me back as fit as possible to be able also to perform the next game. They really care about me and looked after the players after the international games. As I said, to be fit, to be 100% for Saturday, and that's really appreciated.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Obviously, if we have a look at the results you had while you were away, you played against Azerbaijan and you won 3-1, and then you played the Republic of Ireland and you lost 3-0. But in that Ireland game, you could have gone 1-0 up. You had a goal disallowed. Is that a shame? Because you've scored a few goals for your country? Was it annoying, perhaps, to have one chalked off?
It was a special one because. We just get the new stadium and it was really full, and then to score the first goal and to be after disallowed it, I think it was really I don't understand his choice, but at the end it took a little bit time and then whistled the foul or something like that. I really don't know what he whistled. Yeah, okay, we keep going, and then at the end you see also the quality of the other opponents. So there's nothing to say about it. We tried our best, and
it's been had that goal stood, it would have been a nice back-to-back sort of collector's item for you, because you'd scored in the previous game against Cardiff, opened the scoring there, and you've the first player from Luxembourg to ever score in the championship. Although I know the result on the day didn't go the way that any of us wanted it to, Did it mean a lot to you to get that first goal for Town and become the first player from Luxembourg to score in the division?
Yeah, of course. I think if I'm an offensive player and I'm looking for assists or for scoring goals, and it was a little bit difficult for me. It was a long way. I didn't long time ago. I didn't score. Now against Cardiff, I scored my officially first goal for Town, and I was really pleased, of course. But at the end, I couldn't be 100% happy about it because we lost the game.
Yeah,
and that's what makes me a little bit nervous. But yeah, very very glad to score my first goal. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone at the time when it went in was really pleased for you because, Stephen, I think Danel's come close so many times. He's had a few really good strikes from distance. He scored for the B team earlier this season as well. So we're aware of the attacking talent that Danel does have and the sort of threat he poses, especially as a goal scorer. Was that how you felt at the time as well? That he's got his first now, and this might be the start where he could get a few more as we get into the season.
It has felt like a matter of time, yeah. I think for Danel there's been a lot of moments where it's like things of where he'll do sort of all the hard work and get everything right, and then sort of the last ball will just be, you think of against Luton where it got stuck on in the watery pitch and it could have gone through to Josh Koroma to score, or times to hit the bar, or even before, was it against Hull, the corner where it was basically a shot. I think there's been a few sort of nearly moments, and hopefully those will sort of turn into goals and assists now.
Yeah, is that the way you felt, Danel, that you were getting so close to getting your first Town goal, and it was just a bit of a relief to finally get one that went over the line?
Yeah, of course. I think when I started to play for Town, I was really, really close, especially also against also the first game against Everton, or also the next game against Reading when I hit the post. I just, of course, I was looking forward to keep playing, to keep creating chances and everything. But at the end, to be honest, it was a little bit of pressure because so many games without scoring. It was a little bit annoying, but at the end, it pays off, and I scored my first goal before the international. So I'm really pleased about it, and I hope to score again.
Yeah, hopefully it's the first of many. You're obviously here on loan from Norwich. You came in the summer. Is that a decision you're happy with to have come to the club? Is it you enjoying your time here at Town so far?
Of course, at the beginning I needed to adapt myself, to get to meet everyone, to get new to the style of playing. But at the end, I'm really pleased to be here. We play very good football. I think with Carlos, we are progressing every day. In the session, we get a lot of tactical knowledge. So really, you can just improve here, and I'm really pleased to be here.
Stephen, the type of player that Danel is when he's in attack, he's not really a traditional winger. He comes inside. He does a lot of good work in possession, away from just making assists or in the final third. There's a lot of defensive work, Danel, that you do under Carlos. A lot of intense pressing and everything. Is that a weapon that Town are learning to use a little bit more? The fact that he's so multifaceted in the way that he can attack, and that left boot coming in off the right gives us the option of either going wide with Sorba outside of him, or having an additional man inside with him joining in the attacks.
I think that Carlos seems to like his inverted wingers more than he likes a sort of a traditional winger. I think that's sort of the way the game is, particularly when you're playing a front three, is you want to have sort of a left footer on the right footer on the left. And, we've seen Town, the last two top goal scorers were Karlan Grant and Josh Koroma, who hopefully Karlan won't be doing it on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, they were playing on the left and cutting in onto the right foot, that Iron Robin thing. And But I think that sort of more interestingly, sort of the wingers recently, have both Danel and Dwayne Holmes have been playing more as sort of number 10s a lot. And there's been some games as well where, although Town have sort of set up on the 3-4-3 out of possession, that sort of becomes a 5-4-1. In possession, they've as you mentioned, they've gone to a 4-3-3 where Sorba will go up the wing and Danel will sort of come into midfield, and it almost just becomes a 4-3-3, which is with Matty Pearson at right back. So that's interesting to see. And I think that's the kind of thing that you can only do when you've got a player who you feel, when you've got players, I should say, who you feel are sort of flexible enough to do those fluid roles. And I'm sure that sort of, tactically in your mind on the pitch, it's difficult to sort of get your head around, and you need to sort of have your wits about you to do it. So I think it is a bit of a show of faith from Carlos that he's willing to task the players with those sort of, those sort of complicated instructions. So yeah, I think, we've mentioned now that I'm sure you'd love to get sort of more goals, more assists. And I'm wondering, do you feel like after that first goal, you feel like you've got a bit more confidence now and you can crack on and do that?
After several times that I nearly scored, yeah, of course. And when it goes in, you feel also confidence, because it's always good for a striker, for offensive player to have an impact on the game, to score goals or make assists, and that was missing the last games. And really, of course, as I said, when I scored the goal, a little bit of pressure was gone from my side. And so I'm more like now free in the head. I score my first goal, but I keep going to score another goal, and that's the mindset now.
Stephen, you mentioned West Brom in passing just a moment ago when you were referencing Karlan Grant, who obviously we know really well at Town. Could you give us a bit of a look into Saturday's opponents? What can we expect from the Baggies?
Yeah, I mean, we know Villar and Ishmael's teams are. He's a very tactically astute manager, and I think they probably struggled a bit more last year than they might have expected in the Premier League. But they've been. I think it's been pretty clear that the top of the Championship, there's been a clear top three throughout the season, and I think that maybe recently that has turned into a 2 with them as sort of the clear number 3, but they still look to be sort of a cut above a lot of the rest of the teams in this division. It's going to be a really, really tough game. And as I say, we know that Ishmael is a manager who does his homework. We know they've got goal threat in the likes of Karlan Grant, who I think's on 8 goals this season. He had a hard time in the Premier League last year, and I think Sam Allardyce perhaps didn't fancy him terribly much, but obviously we know that he can be he'll easily get into double figures in this division, and he's almost there already. So there is danger there, but of course Town also have happy memories playing at home to West Brom, with 2 great escapes over the past sort of 25 years. So it'd be good to welcome them back to the John Smiths, and I think Town weirdly have quite a good record against West Brom.
Yeah, fingers crossed that stays. Danel, when you're playing a team towards the top end of the division, is that something you find quite exciting? The fact that people might not fancy us, people are expecting West Brom to come here and easily win, but the fact that we can prove ourselves and prove how good we are against a top level opponent, is that something that excites you heading into a game like this?
I just learned in this league that if you think that you come to a game and it will be an easy win, you will get disappointed and you will lose everything. Because when we played against Nottingham Forest, they were at the bottom, so we played them at home, and we were like 100% sure, okay, we will win the game, because we were quite good in the position. But at the end, we lost the game, and it is now also against West Bromwich. I think I think they have the good they have qualities and they have a good chance to win the game, but we won't. We keep fighting and we want to do our best and get some points there, because you never know in these games. Championship are very demanding games, and I'm just like focus on the game. Now, if they are at the top or at the bottom, it doesn't matter. We just focus on the game. That's for myself, and then
I think that's really fair and really well said. To be honest, Danel, I couldn't have you can't really add anything to that. It's really true of the Championship that you can't really expect anything. We saw that at Cardiff as well. One thing I wanted to ask you just before we ended it, something that we were speaking about off air before we started to record, is the amount of different places you see when you go on international duty, and the fact that Baku was such a modern place. It was, a really nice place to go. You're telling us about the new stadium in Luxembourg as well. Where's the nicest place that you've been able to play football, apart from obviously the John Smith Stadium? Where's your favourite place that you've been to, or place you've managed to visit through football?
Difficult to say. I think I've been in a lot of places. I think the more beautiful memories I have is when you get also good result. And one good memory is when we against France, when we played in 2017, we draw against them in Toulouse, and then after the game you go around and a little bit in the city, and everybody was surprised, and everybody was like, all night they drew against France. They were really happy for us, even if they don't support Luxembourg, and it's really pleased to see. And of course, in the city, like when we played against Sevilla with my old club in Luxembourg, because we qualified us for Europa League, and it was really nice to be there when you go out in the city. So everybody was like, it will be an easy game for them, but they were also encouraging us and supporting us too. So that was really nice, and that is the beautiful side of football. Yeah.
No, I think that's a nice note to end on, Danel. Thank you very much. Hopefully we can use some of that underdog spirit on Saturday against West Brom at home. Thank you as well, Stephen, for your time, and thank you to Sportsbroker for making the show possible.